If you work in software, you probably spend a lot more time looking at diagrams and charts than you might realize. Systems, flowcharts, database schemas, they're all over the place. And a good diagram makes a complex system more understandable, but a bad diagram makes it more confusing. I personally suck at making diagrams, but there's been a whole bunch of diagramming AI skills topping the GitHub charts. And so we're going to take a look at a few that I found really interesting. So this is diagram design. It comes from Catherine Lavery, who is really cool and made this awesome skill. She writes at littlemight.com and runs a company called bestself.co. There's a groovy website that accompanies this skill that shows you a whole bunch of really awesome examples. We are going to jump right in. So I've already got the skill installed and I'm here in a project called Vogon. What it does is irrelevant. And we are going to load up that skill. And I'm going to say, make me an architecture diagram of my app, front end, back end, and database. Now, this is a very basic Next.js application, so I don't expect this to be a super complicated diagram. Okay, it's wrapped up. And if I load that up in our browser, we see our groovy little thing. So if I zoom this in a bit, we can see we've got our browser, our front end, our API routes. It correctly recognized that I'm using Elysia and Kaiseli. Nice. And who the art providers are. So this is really good. Now, a really interesting thing about this skill is it can pick up on your existing styles. So I happen to have this application running at this URL. It's super simple. It's just got like this dark theme with orange highlights. And if I come over here and say onboard diagram design to that URL, so what it's doing is it's hitting that URL and it's figuring out all the CSS and the design tokens that it can find, and it's creating a profile for me based on that. And then going forward, I can tell it to create diagrams using that as a style guide. So it wrapped up, and if I bring up the project, I can see it created this file here called diagram design with a profile of Vogon. And if I cd into this home directory diagram design and list this out, I can see there's a new directory called profiles. And if I list that out, I can see a default, which is what we are getting. And now I can see this Vogon markdown. So it created this entire style guide for any diagrams I create using that profile. So I'm going to go in and delete the HTML file that I created. I'm going to go back to OpenCode. I'm going to run the exact same prompt, and it should now reference that style guide that it just created, and we should get a slightly different looking thing. Like I said, that application is pretty bare bones. Okay, it wrapped up. We're going to open that up in the browser, and I can see some red and orange. I'm just going to say make it dark. So I believe all of these charts and diagrams come with a light and dark variant. Okay, so it created a new file for me. I'm going to open that up, and there we go. We have our dark version, and it's looking pretty good. It looks about the same. It's got the styles, or the same styles as the application itself. That's pretty handy. So this is Fireworks Tech Graph. Now, I cannot pronounce the full route to the repository, but it is from a guy whose name I believe is Brad Zhang, and he's got a really cool blog with a whole bunch of interesting articles. It's definitely something I'm going to be revisiting later. Now, this one is a bit more tech focused. Like, it comes preloaded with a lot of engineering diagram know-how. So I can come into my agent and I can say, Fireworks Tech Graph, draw a RAG pipeline flowchart with no extra information. So it wrapped up and it created a SVG as well as a PNG for me. If we load that up in the browser and zoom it in, we can see we've got this whole RAG pipeline. I gave it no instruction, no other information. It just made this all on its own. So it comes pre-built with a whole bunch of knowledge ready to go. So I can also come in and say, Draw microservices architecture style 2. And if we jump over to the repository, we can see style 1 is the default that we just saw, and style 2 is going to be this dark terminal. And then they've got a bunch more styles that we could choose from. So after that, I'm going to say client to API gateway, and then a cluster of user services, order service, and payment service to Postgres, SQL, and Redis. And we're going to see with this type of direction, what do we get back? Cool, so it wrapped up. Going to load that up in the browser and zoom it way in. And we do get the terminal dark version that we asked for. And I can see client, API gateway, the 3 services I mentioned, and the PostgreSQL plus Redis. So it did a great job there. Okay, next up is lieflat-charts. And I got to tell you, people are sleeping on this one. And I think I know why. So I can show you here. It's got the least amount of stars as any of the ones that we've looked at today. And there's 2 things about it. One, it's all in Chinese. But very easily, you can just click on English and you get it all in English, and that's great. Now, the other thing I want to point out before we dive into this is all the way down here at the bottom. While the other 2 skills I showed you are MIT licensed, this one is Polyform non-commercial license. So you want to make sure you understand what that means before you go using this in a commercial setting. But anyways, this is the one that I find the most interesting, where diagram design said it was creating editorial diagrams. This one really delivers on that concept. It really ends up creating, I guess, business reports. It's dope. So we're going to come in and I'm going to say lieflat-charts at mock data CSV. I'm not going to tell it anything else this time. Just going to hit enter and we're going to let that guy run. Okay, so it wrapped up and it did output all of this Chinese text. I will point out that, or I just want to mention that typically if you give it a full statement, I gave it almost nothing. I just gave it the CSV. So it did not infer that I was using English. But on our next example, we'll use a bit more context and it'll pick up on the fact that I am speaking English and it'll give me these results in English. So let's look at what it created. I'm going to zoom this in a bit. If you didn't see the animation, I'm going to reload this guy. So this is our chart. When I click on it, it will reanimate each of these elements. Here's another chart down here. This is cool. This is really cool. And it's editorial. It talks about like the few that carry the channel, and CTR buys the spike, not the base. I don't know. These are awesome. August is a different channel. It's talking about these big jumps in August. Again, this isn't my data. It's just mock data, but it's pulling all of that information together and it's really coming up with something that feels editorial. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, make this into a business dashboard report, R09 style. So I'm going to run that. We're going to jump back over to the repository while that's running. And if we jump down here, we can see all the different report styles. So I just ran R09 business data financial dashboard, but there's a bunch of them. You can run any of these guys. R05 is a project product impact story. R07 is a research market data collage poster. So you'll notice now that it's finished, we are getting a lot more English text, which is great. I'm going to open this up in our browser and you can see that everything's in English. It did in fact pick up or infer based on my prompt that I wanted an English written page. So here we go. This is our editorial business report. 71% of views came from August. This is really cool. The timeline broke in August. A few videos carry the channel. This is all like really cool editorial stuff. It's just a single HTML file, so we can definitely go in and edit it. Don't sleep on lieflat-charts. It's awesome. I'm Joe Metalone. I make short, practical videos that respect your intelligence and your time. If that's your style, you'll like this channel.